Dakar airlift goes on. The Antonov's unloading in Sabah. It's goodbye to the sun. Hello to the rain. Also in tonight's programme, a look back at the history of the Dakar, the years 1979 when it all got underway, up to 1985. Starts the show. Look on board the planes that are taking all and sundry to Sabah in Libya. These are the helicopter pilots, their machines already on board. It's not a pretty sight at the other end. Wet it most certainly is, and cold. Look at the coats, none of those at the departure point in Niamey. Jean-Pierre Omé is in charge of logistics at the other end, the Libyan end that is. He said we arrived yesterday with 12 people to prepare this airlift. We've worked with the traffic controllers and logistics experts here in Libya, and we've got a system in place. Great cooperation indeed from the Libyans. But look at the conditions. Well, those of us who are used to desert weather now, not looking at these pictures with any sense of anticipation at all. So the terrain will most certainly change, and we'll be missing out on whole chunks of Niger. And it's sadness not only for the people of this beautiful country, but also for the competitors themselves. Many wanted to experience the desert conditions, particularly in the Tenere, and the other beauties that Niger has to offer. So where did the Dakar start? Well, it started with this man, Thierry Sabine, creator of the world's greatest rally.
l'esprit de compétition, c'est à mon avis.
The spirit of competition is part of our life. It's part of being human. I love it, he says.
Ça, je veux maintenant le placer en avant.
Competition and expedition are like one and the same. But you have to start learning. Expedition, mixing that with competition is my aim. We're natural adventurers. We must learn, though, the skills in a school. And that school is the Dakar. Well, it all started in 1979 with 170 competitors in all, 90 motorcycles, 80 cars. Only 74 finished as they went from Paris through Alger, all the way to Dakar itself. 10,000 kilometers and a party spirit. It was a gung-ho attitude in those days. You were out there to enjoy yourself, take on the world, and hopefully win. 7 women were on board as well. No factory machines. It was all about buying a bike or a car and getting on with it.
Je vous rappelle Gaomopti. Gaomopti, c'était des pistes assez roulantes et d'un seul coup des pièges et des pistes effondrées. Aujourd'hui, c'est la même chose.
Was referred to as the god amongst competitors. Very charismatic. Anything he asked them to do in terms of route plans, everyone did. Well, Cyril Neveu won it on a Yamaha. The results were mixed between bikes and cars then. There were no categories. First car home was a Range Rover. Gestinier and Tebio it was.
Dakar vient de monter sur le podium, mon cher Cyril, et puis vient de terminer en beauté avec un bon soleil.
Falling at the last. Happy indeed to have made it the first winner of what was to become a classic. So into the 1980s then. Paris to Dakar via Alger. 216 in total, 90 motorcycles, 116 cars, and now 10 trucks. And Martin de Cordance adding a bit of glamour to proceedings. Volkswagen were there, as were the Moreau brothers in their Renault 4. The conditions treacherous as ever, if not more so. Navigation perhaps ever more difficult due to the lack of GPS systems. The Renault 4 of the Moreaus, finishing third behind Zanaroli and Kotlunski in the Volkswagen. The beach of Dakar, the finishing line once again. Trucks were to come in later. Atakat taking it on a Samakomi, ahead of the man of U. Cyril Neveu winning the bikes yet again. Great start to this, what was to become a whole series of rallies. 1981, characterized by the dunes. The Tenere dunes, indeed. Sadly, the dunes that will be missing in this year's Dakar. The maps were out. Maps and compasses, all people had.
On était dans le désert, on était complètement perdu.
Here in the desert, completely lost.
À la sortie du village.
Physically, he said, very tough. You're going through villages, you don't know where you are. Well, 291 took part in 1981. Was going to come in to beat off the challenge from the Yamahas of Baku and Morel. Oriol and his BMW were to prove triumphant. It was Range Rover once again in the cars. René Metsch winning it. Well, producers were starting to get interested in the Dakar at this stage. The excitement of the event was starting to spread. The news was getting round about this race. it was getting bigger. Oriol with the BM flag down the beach at Dakar.
On va faire des prises de vue des concurrents derrière les dunes. Ok, mec, comme ça.
And so to 1982. Competitors now numbering almost 382. And you remember those brothers? Well, they were back. Bernard and Claude Moreau had got themselves a piece of machinery, a Renault 20 4x4 turbo, and they were damned if they were going to give way to anybody. Lada were there, so were the Mercedes and Range Rover, who'd done so well in the previous years. The Moreau brothers, though, held on off, all and sundry. Racing at its ultimate best. No roads, just man and machine against each other and the elements. So the brothers finally won it. Cyril Neveu taking it on the bikes for Honda. Well, 1983 was characterized by sandstorms that just about shut down the rally. Claude Bresser, an actor, just one of the VIPs who was starting to turn up to the event. He, along with Jackie Hicks, would have proved their mettle. Competitors again around the 400 mark, 132 bikes, 253 cars and trucks, but those sandstorms took their toll. The race had to be stopped, and it meant a liaison of 2,300 kilometers in one go. Remember, no GPS, no road map, just a standard map and compass and a few detailed notes. It was very hard on everybody. Hicks and Bresser took it in the cars. Hubert Oriol was victorious again in the bikes. This lady said it's very tough. We went over a dune, got completely lost. Very tough, said Hicks. 6 times winner of Le Mans. Knows what tough means. So many rocks. Terrible, he said, particularly on the privateers. Very tough on the riders in particular. Hubert Oriol, who we know and love, that when you know you've got to drive 2,300 kilometers, the worst part, he said, is the very last 100. They're all complaining about the dust and the sand. How familiar are those words? Oriol riding in triumphant for BMW, finishing ahead of Patrick Drobeck of Honda and Marc Joanneau on a Suzuki. The names were becoming more diverse of the manufacturers involved. David congratulating Oriol. And in 1984, the works cars finally arrived. They just couldn't resist. Porsche were on board, DAF sending out the two-headed truck. And the spirit of the Dakar, still there. The amateurs having it as tough as ever. Impossible to stop now, he says. I must go on. I've got this far. I have to continue. It's the sort of medal that's not brought out in any other race. René Metsch was to take it for Porsche in the car class. The trucks, it was the Mercedes of Lelio Ondursi, and the bikes, Gaston Rayet for BMW, Hubert Oriol making it a 1-2 for the German manufacturer. For others, though, a long road home after injury and disappointment. This is completely broken. You definitely need assistance in the Dakar, he says. Very hard. Just too hard to do it on your own. So the Porsches came home. Germany having a great Dakar in '84. Mercedes in the trucks and BMWs. Fernouille, as he's known, became the Dakar organizer in 1993. After taking a tumble, he knew exactly what it was all about. Where there are travails, there are smiles, as they say. And so the mass start in 1985. The Works Porsches on board yet again. On the bikes, it was BMW once more. They were looking unbeatable. Gaston Rayet was there. Porsche weren't going to have it all their own way, however. René Metsch says, I think the big problem is that when you know you can win the rally, you think you've almost got it, and you make a small error, and it's all over. So Porsche losing out this time. Mitsubishi, a name that's become so familiar, 1 and 2. Zaniroli and Cowan taking it ahead of the Toyota of Ferjus. Gaston Rayet beating Jean-Claude Olivier on the Yamaha to take the bike title. Franco Picco making up the podium. The trucks, it was Capito and Capito in the Mercedes. That's what the Dakar's all about. The spirit of victory. The triumph over adversity.